Right now, as you watch this, as many as 2,500 people are cut off on the south side of Hawaii's Big Island. The main highway serving their district collapsed along with the hillside. One of the few hospitals on the south coast sits on the far side of that break. More than 170,000 homes across the state woke up this morning with no power. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2026. This is a full breakdown of what Hurricane Lala left behind in Hawaii. We will go through all 4 islands that were hit. We will look at the rainfall and outage numbers, work through the forecast, and close with the mainland. Let's start with the wide picture. On Saturday evening, Hurricane Lala approached the Big Island as a Category 1 storm. The center of the hurricane passed to the south and never crossed the shoreline. But the ring of strongest winds around that center clipped the south coast around 5 o'clock in the evening, local time. 4 islands took damage: the Big Island, Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. Governor Josh Green says more than 100 homes on the south side of the Big Island were destroyed or damaged. On the Big Island alone, more than 30 roads were closed, and Hawaii County called that number a record. On Monday, state and county offices, public schools, and courts are closed statewide. To understand the scale, compare it with the last event like it. In August of 2018, Hurricane Lane passed by Hawaii. Its center sat 150 miles west of the Big Island, much farther out than Lala's center. Lane dropped 52 inches of rain on the village of Mountain View and set the state record. The difference between the 2 storms is pace. Lane poured on the island for 4 days from a distance. Lala came in close and dumped its water in a single night. We start in the Kau district at the southern tip of the Big Island. That means the towns of Naalehu and Waiohinu. Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda said several occupied homes were swept off their foundations. The search began just after midnight, local time. According to the county, people called 911 and then contact with them was lost. County Civil Defense, fire crews, police, public works, the Hawaii National Guard, and the United States Coast Guard all joined the effort. The county never issued a mandatory evacuation order. A civil defense message posted at 3 in the morning says it plainly. No evacuation was ordered. The water rose faster than that. People brought out by rescuers were taken to the Robert Herkes Gym in Pahala and to the Public Works Base Yard in Waiohinu. The National Weather Service in Honolulu reported after 9 o'clock Saturday night that 2 homes had been swept away in the Kau district. Residents were told to get to higher ground immediately. Governor Green said Sunday that rescuers pulled an elderly woman out of a tree. Her house had already been washed away by then. We will follow this story every morning until the roads open and the lights come back. If you want those updates, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now the road. We are talking about Highway 11 at Pahala, the main route along the southeast coast of the island. Governor Green said a landslide took out part of the roadbed and damaged several small bridges. By his description, the collapse created a brand new waterfall. Aerial footage shows sections of the road simply gone with rock and mud where the pavement used to be. Power lines came down along with the roadbed. A landslide, for anyone who has not dealt with one, is water-soaked ground sliding down a slope. When the earth can no longer hold the water, the hillside starts moving and carries away everything standing on it. Deborah Funai Brown has lived in Pahala her whole life. She told television station KHNL that she watched the collapse happen, and she called it catastrophic. Officials estimate as many as 2,500 people are stranded behind that break. One of the few hospitals serving the south side of the island is in that same area. These people lost their road and their quick access to a doctor at the same moment. Traffic lights were out across the island. Pahoa-Kalapana Road between the Leilani Estate subdivision and Pahoa was blocked by a fallen tree. Let's look at where all that water came from. According to figures the governor gave, more than 43 inches of rain fell in the mountains of the Big Island. Here are the station numbers. Laupahoehoe recorded 25.5 inches over 36 hours. Nahuku, inside Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, got almost 21 inches. The gauge at Hakalau showed about the same. A whole row of windward sites came in between 19 and 21 inches. The National Weather Service reported that during some hours of the night, rain was falling at 3 to 5 inches per hour. At that rate, storm drains simply stop working. Dry stream beds turn into rivers within minutes. For the Kau district, the Weather Service declared a flash flood emergency. That is the highest level of flood warning in the American system. It is issued when water is already threatening lives at that moment. The zone covered Naalehu, Pahala, and the community of Hawaiian Ocean View. The reason for totals like these is the terrain. Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa each rise above 13,000 feet. The mountain forces moist ocean air upward, and that air gives up its water on the slope facing the wind. At the very summit of Mauna Kea, in unconfirmed reports, gusts reached 140 miles per hour. The University of Hawaii at Hilo reported snow on the summit, and all of this happened in August. Big Island schools closed early, back at 5:30 on Friday evening. All classes and activities were canceled for the weekend. On Maui, mountain areas got up to 2 feet of rain. The ground there is saturated, and the landslide threat holds even without new rain. Let's rebuild how the storm moved over the islands, using the official advisories. The Central Pacific Hurricane Center issues those 4 times a day. Take the advisory from 7 o'clock Saturday evening, Hawaii time. The center of the hurricane was then about 40 miles west of South Point on the Big Island. Honolulu was about 160 miles away. Maximum sustained winds were 80 miles per hour with a central pressure of 985 millibars. At that same hour, a station at Pahala Ranch reported a sustained wind of 50 miles per hour and a gust of 77. Over the 12 hours before that moment, windward slopes on Maui and the Big Island had already collected 15 to 17 inches of rain. In that same advisory, forecasters warned of storm surge on Oahu and Kauai running 1 to 2 feet above normal levels. The full rainfall forecast for the windward Big Island was raised to 30 inches and then to 40 for the whole storm. By Sunday evening, Lala had weakened to a tropical storm. The 5 o'clock advisory put its strength at about 65 miles per hour. It was moving west at roughly 16 miles per hour. The tropical storm warning had been dropped for every island except Kauai County by then. The flash flood watch, though, was kept in place for every island except the Big Island. The reason is simple. The rain there had already passed, while the western islands were still getting it. Now to the people. Hawaii County confirmed 1 death during the storm. It was a head-on collision between 2 vehicles on Aloha Boulevard in Hawaiian Ocean View around 1:15 on Saturday afternoon. A 45-year-old man, a resident of that subdivision, was killed. A 21-year-old woman was in the second vehicle. On Sunday afternoon, officials adjusted the wording. Any link between that crash and the storm has not been established and remains an open question. We are reporting it the way the county described it. 3 more people were seriously injured in the Puna district when a tree fell on them. Beyond the searches in Naalehu and Waiohinu, rescuers pulled about 5 people out of stranded vehicles. This is worth saying because it repeats in every flood. 6 inches of fast-moving water knocks a person off their feet. 2 feet will float a passenger car. If there is water on the road, turn around and find another way. The Federal Emergency Management Agency staged its assets on the islands ahead of time before the storm arrived. How those resources get split between searches, road repair, and grid work will become clear once damage assessments are done. Now, the power, because for a lot of people, that is the main problem today. According to Hawaiian Electric, as of 7 o'clock Sunday evening, about 179,000 customers across the state were still without power. Sunday morning, the figure was around 200,000. Here's the breakdown by island. On Oahu, by Sunday evening, about 126,500 customers were out. Most of them on the leeward side of the island, in Honolulu and along the windward coast. On the Big Island, about 44,900 customers were out, mostly in Puna, North Kona, and South Kahala. On Maui, the number was around 7,000. On Kauai, the local electric cooperative reported at 8:30 Sunday evening. 931 customers there were still out, from a total of 36,344. After a run of numbers, let's put the main point in plain words. More than 170,000 homes across the islands woke up this morning in the dark. The utility issued a separate warning. In the hardest-hit rural parts of the Big Island, restoration could take weeks and in some places months. Main transmission lines running through the mountains are damaged and crews will have to hike into some of the poles. Inspections are being flown by helicopter and drone. By 2:30 Sunday afternoon, the company had restored power to roughly 180,000 customers. Hawaiian Electric has requested help from partner utilities across Western North America. About 100 workers arrived Tuesday and start work Wednesday. Mayor Alameda said what worries him most is not the darkness itself, but what follows it. He means people who depend on oxygen concentrators and home medical equipment. He also said the island's wastewater system was running on backup power Saturday evening. Now the other islands. On Oahu, Honolulu Emergency Services took more than 200 people to hospitals during the storm. City officials reported that at a Sunday briefing. According to the governor, at least 3 hospitals were running on generators. Honolulu Ocean Safety Director Kurt Lager said lifeguards pulled 59 people out of the water in a single Saturday. He asked residents to stay away from the ocean on Sunday and said it was not the day to come to the beach. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi described the search for a missing hiker on the Lulumahu Falls Trail. Crews worked there in hard conditions, and Sunday workers were cutting up a fallen tree outside the convention center. Honolulu Police Chief David Lazar asked people to stay home. 8 shelters were opened on the island, down to Kauai. Mayor Derek Kawakami signed an emergency proclamation and opened a damage reporting portal for residents. Kuhio Highway, the main road on the North Shore, was closed at the Hanalei River Bridge because of water over the pavement. Hawaiian and Alaska Airlines canceled more than 77 flights and issued travel waivers. Brown water advisories are in effect across the whole island chain. Those go out when storm runoff carries mud and sewage into the ocean. One question remains: why the storm did not weaken on its way to the islands. Normally, cyclones heading for Hawaii run into colder water and lose strength. That is exactly what people count on when another hurricane turns toward the chain. This year, as forecasters point out, the water around the islands is abnormally warm. A band of overheated water stretches east all the way to the California coast. For a hurricane, warm water is fuel. On top of that, there is a developing El Niño. That is a periodic warming of the water in the tropical Pacific. It weakens the winds in the upper atmosphere, and those are the winds that usually tear tropical systems apart on approach. Lala crossed warm water under weak upper-level wind and held its strength to the last. Now the forecast. According to the Central Pacific Hurricane Center on Sunday evening, Lala was about 170 miles west and southwest of Lihue. Maximum sustained winds were near 65 miles per hour. The system was moving west at roughly 16 miles per hour. Through Monday, there is little change in strength, and after that, the forecast points to intensification. Lala could become a hurricane again on Tuesday or Wednesday. It is moving away from the main Hawaiian Islands, toward the northwestern part of the chain. For the islands, the Weather Service called for another 1 to 3 inches of rain on the Big Island. For the rest of the chain, 2 to 4 inches, with up to 6 in spots. Now to the mainland. In its Sunday outlook, the Weather Prediction Center kept a level 3 out of 4 risk of excessive rainfall. That covers parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Level 3 means the chance of dangerous rain in that zone is at least 40%. This is the same corridor that flooded all last week. The ground there is already saturated and new rain runs off the top. The same outlook flags a severe thunderstorm threat from the Midwest to the mid-Atlantic coast. In the south, dangerous heat continues. The Weather Service office in Fort Worth extended its heat advisory for most of North, Central, and East Texas until 8 o'clock Monday evening. There is an update on Indiana, which we covered last week. The State Department of Homeland Security confirmed Sunday that the death toll has risen to 7. According to the department, the dead include a 4-year-old boy in Jennings County. He was killed when a tree came through the roof into his bedroom on Tuesday. Also killed were a 58-year-old woman in Lake County and an 86-year-old woman in Porter County. The list also includes a 32-year-old man in LaPorte County and a 31-year-old man in Henry County. In Indianapolis, the White River crested early Sunday morning and began to fall. The City Department of Public Works reopened the floodgates. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett called it the worst flooding the city has seen in more than 30 years. Fire Department spokesperson Rita Reith said 95 people and 45 pets were rescued on Saturday. According to the outage tracking service, about 130,000 customers were still without power by Sunday. At the peak, the figure was 300,000. On Saturday, the president approved Governor Mike Braun's request for federal assistance. Now the part that matters most if you live downstream in Indiana. The rain there has stopped, but the water has not gone anywhere. It is moving down the channels, and for a lot of towns, the crest is still ahead. Here's how that works. A river collects water from its whole basin and carries it toward the mouth. The crest passes through each town in turn, days apart. That is why a flood does not end when the rain does. On the White River. The crest passed Noblesville Saturday morning, Nora and Ravenswood overnight into Sunday, and Indianapolis early Sunday morning. The Sunday Weather Service statement says the crest does not reach Centerton until Monday afternoon and points southwest of there later still. At Spencer, the river stood at 12.9 feet late Saturday evening against a flood stage of 14 feet. The Weather Service forecast, above flood stage Sunday afternoon and a crest near 20.5 feet early Wednesday. At Edwardsport, the river was at 11.2 feet at 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon against a flood stage of 15 feet. The forecast crest is 21.1 feet on Saturday, August 22nd. At Petersburg, it was 6.6 feet at 6:30 Saturday evening, against a flood stage of 16 feet. Forecast: above flood stage Monday afternoon and a crest of 21.8 feet on Sunday, August 23rd, on the East Fork of the White River. At Rivervale, it was 14.4 feet at 10:30 Saturday night, against a flood stage of 20 feet. The Weather Service expects it above flood stage Tuesday morning and cresting at 21.5 feet Wednesday evening. It does not drop back below flood stage there until Saturday, August 22nd, on the Wabash, the largest river in the state. On Sunday afternoon, the Weather Service in Indianapolis rewrote the Terre Haute forecast from minor flooding to moderate. At 8:30 Sunday evening, the river there stood at 21.2 feet. Flood stage is 16.5 feet. Forecast crest, 24.8 feet early Thursday morning. The Wabash at Terre Haute does not fall below flood stage until August 25th. On the Wabash, the crest passed Lafayette on Sunday and reaches Covington Monday evening. It arrives at Mount Carmel near the Illinois line early in the week of August 23rd. The bottom line for Indiana is simple. In Indianapolis, the water is gone. And that is good news. In the western and southwestern parts of the state, the worst is still ahead. And that needs to be understood today, not on Thursday. A word now on what to do today if this touches you directly. Everything below follows the guidance of the agencies working these events right now. If you are in Hawaii without power, remember the generator. The Federal Emergency Management Agency repeats this every season. A generator runs outdoors only, never in a garage and never under an overhang next to the house. The exhaust carries carbon monoxide, it has no smell, and people lose consciousness before they understand what is happening. Now food in a refrigerator with no power. A closed door holds the cold for about 4 hours. A full freezer holds for about 2 days. If you are unsure about an item, throw it out rather than taste it. Now the water. Brown water advisories are in effect across the whole chain because runoff carried mud and sewage into the ocean. Nobody should be going in right now, even where the sun is out and the surf has settled. Now on damage claims. Kauai County has opened a portal for residents to file reports. Photograph everything before you start hauling things out. Shoot from 2 angles, a wide view of the room, and a close view of the damage. Without those pictures, it gets hard to prove the extent later. If you are in western Indiana and your river is still rising, time is on your side. The crest arrives in days, not hours. This is the rare case where you can calmly move belongings up, relocate the car, and get your documents out. And the general rule the Weather Service repeats in every one of these flood statements. Most flood deaths happen in vehicles. If there is water on the road, you cannot see how deep it is or whether there is still a road underneath. In that situation, you turn around and find another way. Check on elderly neighbors and on anyone living alone, especially anyone with medical equipment that plugs into the wall. Let's put the day together in a short list. First, Highway 11 at Pahala has collapsed. As many as 2,500 people are cut off, and access to the hospital on the south side of the island is closed. Second, a search operation ran in the Cow District. Homes were swept off their foundations, and those rescued were taken to Pahala and Waiohinu. Third, about 179,000 customers statewide are still without power. In rural parts of the Big Island, the lights could take weeks to come back. Fourth, on Monday, state offices, schools, and courts are closed statewide. Plan your day around that. Fifth, the rain on the islands is easing, but the ground is saturated. The threat of landslides and flooding holds on Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. Sixth, stay out of the coastal water. Brown water advisories are in effect across the whole chain. Seventh, and this one is the mainland. In Indiana, the rain has stopped, but the river crests are moving downstream. At Terre Haute on the Wabash, the crest is expected Thursday, and the river does not fall below flood stage until August 25th. Eighth, at Petersburg and Rivervale, the river only goes above flood stage today and Tuesday. If you are there, you have a day or two in hand, so use them. Today in Pahala and Naalehu, people will be sorting through what is left, with the road closed and no power. Crews will hike into the mountains to reach damaged poles. A particular thank you to the people who worked in the dark on the cut-off roads of the Cow District overnight into Sunday. To Hawaii County Civil Defense, the fire crews, the police, the National Guard, and the Coast Guard. The elderly woman they pulled out of that tree is alive because of them. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly and anyone living out on their own without power. For current warnings, go to the Weather Service site. For road conditions, go to the Hawaii Department of Transportation. Damage reports are taken by the county emergency management agencies. If your life is in immediate danger, call 911. We will be back tomorrow morning with new numbers. Take care of yourselves.